The one thing we really wanted was a family bathroom, and now we've got one. The kids love it. There's so much space in here as well, and I've got my shower that I always wanted. The thing about working with Tommy, like professionals, and Alan as well, is that you learn how things should be done and also how things shouldn't be done. So I picked up quite a few hints and tips, and also some things that you know, you just wouldn't know if you were doing it yourself. It's just one of the best things I've ever done. I really, really enjoyed it.
Today I'm in Baldock in Hertfordshire, and this is an old Victorian schoolhouse built around 1850. Sometime in its glorious past it had been converted into two, and my challenge today is to help the present owners convert it back into one family home. So Rob, how long have you been here?
4 years.
You've been here 4 years?
Yeah, that's right.
And did you buy the whole house 4 years ago?
No, just this side.
So this is the new half, the good half?
That's right.
Right, and then this is not the half we're working on?
No.
No, right. OK, show me where that is.
Just over here.
Yes, I figured it might be, because this looks like a building site, well, a rubbish dump.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, that does look derelict. In actual fact, this is like a football match.
Is it?
Yes, because a football match is a game of two halves.
You're right. And
you've got a house of two halves.
That's right.
So let's go and have a look at this half and see what I've got to do.
OK.
I bet it's going to be really messy, dirty. But what precisely do you want me to do?
I'd like you to take that stairs out.
Take this staircase out?
Right, yeah.
Right. And then what?
Take that one out as well.
Take that staircase out as well. This is growing.
New floors.
Piece in the floor.
Ceiling.
Piece in the ceiling, yes.
And also I'd like you to get rid of this.
Yes, I'm pretty good with breasts, actually, so I'm going to take this one right out, remove it.
That's right.
Then we'll have to piece the floor in.
Yep.
OK. Now, what's this thing here, then?
That's the original doorway through to our side of the house, and I'd like you to open that up as well.
And what's this room going to be?
This is going to be a family bathroom.
Oh, it'll be a nice big bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got a plan for how it's going to be?
Yeah, we'd like to put a nice big bath there. Shower in the corner.
Shower where that staircase is.
Toilet over there.
Put the bog there. And anything else in there?
Well, obviously, we'll need a new window.
What do you mean, obviously, the new window? How would I know you need it? So we're going to take this out and put a new window in here as well?
Yeah. And also, I'd like you to match up the concrete sills on the outside of the house, because they were taken out. I'm sitting directly above the room where Rob wants me to remove the chimney breast. Now, you see here the remains of the original chimney breast. Sometimes someone's taken out the breast and the stack above and pieced in the roof, so that now this is obsolete. So to actually remove that is no longer a problem. But you have to be careful, because normally chimney breasts are normally back-to-back, particularly in a terraced house, with next-door neighbours' chimney breasts. And if you take your one out, you can sometimes imbalance the one next door, and that causes a problem. So I would always advise you to get a surveyor in to advise you before you actually take it out, and also make sure you have the local authority involved. But for us here today, we just take it out, no damage done. The first thing you need is an able-bodied assistant to help you, like Alan here. He's going to help me take this out. And also, you must make sure that you've got all your safety equipment with you. You need to have a helmet, goggles, and you need to have a mask. But before I put it on, I'm just going to explain to you what I'm going to do. We're going to start taking this breast down at the top here. We're going to take off a strip of plaster, see where the brick courses are, then cut a hole right the way through here, and then we'll just be able to pluck these off and drop them down to the ground floor. So, get ready for dusty time. Oh, this is taking ages. What I'm going to try and do is use an old professional trick of the trade. Sometimes it works if the plaster's fairly old. Sometimes it don't. Fingers crossed.
lucky I'm fit, isn't it? Now we've got some of the plaster off. You know, the dog can see the rabbit. We're going to punch a line of these bricks through and then disassemble the whole thing. There's the void area. It's only a single brick round on the face, and that's where the flue lies. There's one flue one side serving this chimney, this fireplace here. There's another flue on the other side of the breast, which serves the fireplace below. This is very warm work. Sweating. Now, you may say, why was he starting at the top, making such a stretch? The reason for that is, we don't want it falling down on top of us once we knock a hole out here. So if you take the top section out, from then on in, it's very simple. All you have to do is just give them a little tap. I'll show you. A little tap like this. And the whole line becomes loose, and it's very easy then to take them apart. You can clean the bricks, clean all this old mortar off the bricks, see? And you've got second-hand bricks that you can use to rebuild part of this house or your barbecue in the garden or whatever. And also, for quick disposal. Now, while we were here looking at this, taking this down, we did work out we've got to patch the ceiling up. That made us look at the ceiling for the first time. Well, it did me anyway. And unfortunately, it's an old lath and plaster ceiling. And it seemed to be very chic in the 70s to change a beautiful ceiling, which might have had cornices around all that, and actually to apply our old friend...
Plasterboard?
Wrong answer. Artex. We put Artex all over the ceilings. Now, if you've got lots and lots of time to spend, you can, over a long period of time, with a great deal of patience, take the Artex off the ceiling. But what will probably happen is you'll damage the ceiling. So Alan and I are debating whether we should do anything with this ceiling, because we've got to patch it anyway. Now, there's two ways you can do it. You can either board over the existing ceiling, can't you?
You can.
But that lowers the ceiling slightly, and then you've got to find where all the joists are. We reckon, and it's much quicker, although it may be a tad messier, to take the old ceiling down and put up a new ceiling. But that is going to cost Rob 2 extra cups of tea?
At least. Probably chocolate biscuits as well.
Rob! Right, that's the breast out completely. Now, what we're faced with is a slight problem. Rob doesn't want to remove this breast on the lower ground floor. He wants it to stay and remain a feature within the room. So what we're going to have to do, that's as far down as we can go, we're going to trim this up. That means to actually put in the timber joist that will carry the floor in when we replace the floor to cover this void. And before we trim this up with joists, I think we're going to take the ceiling down. Now, that is a mucky job. Now, we are now about to attempt the dirtiest task in the building trade. That's the pulling down of old ceilings. Now, what we're going to try and do, which is one thing in our favour, it's open up here. Half the ceiling is open, so we can actually attack it from above. So you get above the ceiling area and punch it down into the floor below. If you can't get into the ceiling from above, you have to pull it down from below, and it is a filthy job. Now, particularly here in this case, because the roof has been replaced at some time, the roof covering. And, like all good roofers, they leave half the roof debris behind. For us builders to go inside and pull down on top of ourselves. So I'm just warning you, close your eyes, because it's going to be very, very mucky, and I don't want you getting dust in your eyes. OK, got it? Nod? Right, OK. Ready?
Yeah.
Now the light's coming up from the window below. There's a bit of woodworm, untreated woodworm in this stud work. See, that's the problem with old buildings. When you open them up to do a bit of restoration work, you find instead of one job to do, you've got 10. A very useful tip. Oh. When you're taking an old lath and plaster walls and ceilings, pick out all the laths first, wrap them up or burn them before you start clearing up the muck. Woo! Right then, that's the chimney breast, down and out. That's the old lath and plaster ceiling, down and out. I'm just denailing the joist, and the next job to do is take down the old stud wall and the staircase out.
The house was built in 1852 and two brothers lived here, and as far as we know they fell out, they had a huge falling out and they decided to split the house in two. We got the larger half of the house when we moved in. It was basically a shell, a builder had bought it and there was no kitchen in, so we put the kitchen in. We were fortunate enough to be in a position where we could make them an offer next door, and they agreed. So, and all in all, it took 4 weeks from start to finish to buy next door, and then it was a case of just getting in there and stripping it all out. I was actually pleasantly surprised once everything had gone, because I think it looked worse while everything was still in there, all the furniture, and it looked very cramped, and you know, it was, it hadn't been decorated for years. And it was nice to see some of the original features still in there, and sort of we'd been told that under the wood cladding there was actually original doors left in there, and they'd just been papered over and then cladded over, and so that was nice to find those still there. The room that Tommy's working in was a bedroom, and it was in a bit of a state. But so the work he's done so far is amazing, taking out the chimney breast, and it's really opened the room up.
That's a tasty little tool.
It is, isn't it?
So if I cut through them, you just pull them off, and that way
Yeah, OK.
you won't do any damage to the floor. Oh, I like that. Right, I'll take down these top ones. I'll lever them off as well.
Yeah.
That's it. Let's put it down the hole or not?
Yeah, why not?
We'll leave that for Rob to clear up, eh?
Yeah.
That's another one got there. There's not much to these walls, is there?
Very little. They're really real skimpy compared to nowadays, aren't they?
Yeah. Mind you, they've stood up for, what, over 150 years, so...
Yeah.
They weren't bad. I'll cut through these. Just want to clear a couple of nails.
There's some plaster on the back here.
Yeah. so we don't lose the blade of the saw. Right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
That's a handy way to saw things, isn't it, huh? Made short work of that.
Yeah. Let's try this out as well while we're at it.
Yeah, just rip it through. Hold up, you just get there and I'll give you a little bit of a bit of a lift with that. Come back onto me. That's it.
It's not going to come yet, mate. Oh, it is.
What did you have for breakfast? All right, well, I'll pull it to me.
That's fine.
You get that in there, I'll come back onto the hammer. That's it.
Got it?
Another piece for Rob.
It's trapped on.
You get it started, and I'll put this in. All right, now I'll just pass it down to Rob. Rob? Hold on a minute, Alan. I think we have to... This is a case of an application of thinking power before brawn. You stand at one side. I think we should use the pickaxe.
Go on, go for it.
Or it could be dangerous.
Oh, hang on a minute. Is that any better?
Now this is proving a little bit... Ah, got the solution. Another piece for Rob. Now, this looks like a short, straight flight from the top down to here, which was probably made in the workshop. And then these are what they call kite winders. This gets you around the bend on the stairs to get you where you want to be. And these were probably made on site. So in theory, if we bash these out and get rid of them, the whole flight should come out in one. You ready?
Yeah.
Can I let this drop or what?
Yeah, you're fine. But you've got short joists actually into the wall, so you'd probably be better pulling it your way if you can.
Right, OK.
That's it, nearly there. Because it's not in a very good spot there, if it does go, I'm going to stand up here and hold it from the bottom, all right? Not that I'm chicken.
I think what we could do, if we both have a go at easing it out, and we'll work it, and we'll see where the fixings are, and then if we have to free it up there, we will.
Yeah, all right.
Because we're not reusing this.
No.
Right. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Do you realise how much dust you're getting on my T-shirt?
I know. Looking at your T-shirt, I think it's past worrying about. Oh, 1 second. I don't want you to be left holding that. Get down.
Do you reckon they're too steep?
Well, yeah. Let me give Rob a call. Rob, come and have a look at your new staircase. Lucky I'm a goalkeeper. See the way I caught that? Oh, it's another piece of scrap wood to Rob, isn't it?
You've got a light end again, haven't you?
That's because I'm taller. Right, that's it, lads. That's enough. Not a bad day's work. Notice the chimney breast is no longer there. That's gone. And the ceiling, that's gone. We didn't even know that to come down. This wall here, the stud wall, that's gone. And, of course, we can no longer get up to the loft because the staircase is gone. Not a bad day's work. And it's all clean and tidy. Come here, lads. Now, tomorrow, we're going to start putting all this place back together again. I'm sure you're going to be pleased about that.
I am.
But there's one job left for us to do. We are now going to be called the Three Amigos, and the last job is we've all got to have a bath. Have you seen yourself? We're not going to have a bath together, they'll be pleased to know. But I'll tell you what, who's going to be in the bath first, and the other two will be down the pub.
You go in the bath first.
We're going to have a pub.
Come on then. We'll see about that. Who's buying the first round?
Alan's in front.
Now, I could buy the first round, but that means that I ain't got to be in the bath first. Hi, we're in Baldock in Hertfordshire, and this is a former Victorian schoolhouse which was once converted into 2 homes. Our job is to help start to restore it back to one family home. Recap time. Now, first of all, we removed this chimney breast yesterday. Then we took down this lath and plaster ceiling, which was in very poor condition. And then we took out this staircase, removed that, that's gone. Now, what we'll have to do now, we have to make this all back good. So we've got to put some new joists in there. We've got to put some new joists in there and piece in the floor. We've got to put some new joists in there and piece in the ceiling here. Right, it's all piecework. I wish I got paid on piecework. And we've actually got to take up these existing floorboards. OK, you've got them? Good. Come back up here. Then we've got to take out this staircase down here. Yes. Right, then we've actually got to put new floor joists in there. We're going to have all the boards sanded and put them all back. And I'm not finished yet. Talk about a challenge. We're actually then going to put stud work in here to form a lobby, hang a door, architraves all round it, door linings, new frame and everything. Oh, and we're going to put new skirtings all the way around, so that'll be very posh. Oh, and we're going to take this window out, put a brand new window in there, and we're going to actually we're going to put some shuttering up and we're going to actually form a new concrete sill. Well, as if we haven't got enough work to do already. Now, remember, this is where the stairs used to finish and used to access into the loft bedroom. And all we intended to do was actually add some joist from there right the way through to that wall and then plasterboard this bit of ceiling in. But with renovation, jobs have a tendency to grow and grow. Now, this thing is flapping about. It's not even anchored in the wall. So we can't really successfully patch this up. So we're going to take this out, increase the size of the task, the job, and connect the rafters to this load-bearing wall right the way through to it. Did I say rafters? I meant joists. See, what's happening? It's all this work, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Now, let me just take this out. Not very securely attached. And also, they've got quite a bit of worm attached to them. Look, I'll just bring this down and show you. See all the worm attack? It's not past saving, but for a piece of wood that long... Robert! Now, quite often in old houses when you're renovating,
The timbers they used to use, the sizes, wouldn't be conventional sizes. We'd use 4x2, 5x2, 6x2, that's imperial sizes. And they would use sizes like 3.5 inch by 1.25, or 4.25 inch by 1.75 inches. So what we have to do to make sure the floor lays level and the ceiling's level, we have to mill conventional size timbers down to match that. Now here's a conventional size piece of timber, right? All nice and machined perfectly. See, and look at that. And that's all nice and straight. Now this is about as straight as the hind leg of a donkey. So we don't want that.
Have you tried this?
No. That's 260. So what I want is a packer. Well, what you got?
Well done for you, sir. Hey, who set this young man up?
We're going to have to stop meeting like this, you know.
It's cosy, isn't it?
Because I know what happens. So after only a couple of weeks, you'll give me the brush on. Look at that, perfect. It's a good start. This one was broken. Now, when lifting boards, you have to be very careful, or otherwise they split. That was just to show you what could happen if you don't approach this in the right manner. And we have a problem here. Let me just show you this close up. For floorboards, these are very wide boards, which are really, really nice. The only problem is they're just softwood, they're pine, and they're very, very thin. Being so wide, if you're not very careful when you lift them, they snap down the middle, ish. And that's happened here. Someone's lifted this up before, and they've split them right down the middle. So the test will be this full-length one. Now, if it doesn't work, I want you to look away. In actual fact, I'd like this to be cut, and we'll do it again. Ease in both sides. Normally comes up sort of all of a sudden. Easy. That's it. Now, there, Rob. Oh. Hold on.
Should start flicking up now.
That's it. Ha-ha! Wonderful. Wonderful. We're going to sand the floor. Now, normally you would hire a drum sander and run it over this floor, but because it's in such a state and we've got to patch it up, we're going to take it up and piece it all in together. Now, you may wonder why I hit it with a hammer, because that's what you normally use to fix it. But if you can actually get it to lift and spring a bit of tension, put a bit of weight on this end and a bit of tension in the middle, when you tap it, it pops the timber off the nail, and then you just pull the nails out the joist after. Hold it. That's it. Hold it.
know, sometimes you're lucky you find some old newspapers underneath the floor. But I think this is probably the oldest I've found, and it's the Hertfordshire Express, and the date is Saturday, September the 27th, 1862. Price 1 penny, stamped 2 pennies. I don't know what that means. And we've got a public house here west, £300, and the trade is £90 per month. And the rent, it says here, only £40 a month. So that means that you could work all month for 50 quid. But I suppose the price of a pint of beer was a penny. If only that were the case today. Talking of which, I wonder where my 2 oppos are gone. I bet they've gone and got themselves a beer and left me out. Oi! Where are you? Now, Rob, our client, is smiling. That's normally an indication that the client's very happy. And I think that's because we're doing so well with this job.
What's the first thing you want me to do, then?
Well, we've got to knock up some muck. I want you to do that.
Right.
And I'm going to brick up the chimney breast, you know?
All right.
Because I've got to try and get a coat of render on it.
Right. What's the mix on this, then?
We want it 6 and 1, soft sand and cement.
Right.
OK, put some water first, then plasticizer.
Right, OK.
Now, what I've got to do today, I've got to get that chimney breast rendered. But the depth is so thick, I've got to actually cut some bricks, put them on first, and then I can get a coat of render on afterwards. So I'll let him do the mixing. I'm going to go and do the preparation. Yes, as I suspected, a huge variation in the depth once we've taken this breast out. On this side, you just get your fingers up, and on this side, you can get the whole arm up here. Now, it's not a good policy to try and render that up that thick. Well, not unless you had a week and you could actually put a coat on each day. But even so, the right way to do it is to brick it up. But the only problem with bricking it up, obviously, conventional brickwork is too wide, so you do a brick on edge, and that's still too wide. So the way to solve that problem is using a method what we call defrogging the bricks. Now, that's the frog of the brick, this recess in here. And effectively, we chop it all the way around here, cut the frog out, and get a thinner brick. And that way, when we put the brick on edge, it won't come out past the 2 sides. I'll show you. Right, another little problem we have here is I've got to retain this flue. Now, I can't actually do brickwork across fresh air. I can do a lot of things. So what I've actually been lucky enough to find, this bit of old steel flat bar, which was in the original fireplace, this was over the arch opening. So it's actually authentic steel from the period. Now I'm just going to bed it on here so it forms a lintel across the opening, and then I can lay the bricks on top. Here we are. Remember, keep a long level or a long straight piece of stick, and that's going to be your guide to make sure that your bricks are behind the edge where you want it to be. Where's that now? Where are we? Spot on. Perfect. Rob wants a new window fitted in this room, so while I'm sorting out the chimney breast, Alan's removing the old one.
Right, all the beading's off, and as you can see, there's like little clips with screws into the frame. Now, these are holding the aluminium outer frame in, and normally they're set up on packers and set into mastic, and these are as well. So all I'm going to do is unscrew these. That'll release the window, then I can start easing it out, because I don't want to break the glass. It just makes a load of work at the end of the day. Lower it down. Like that.
Now, when you do this, using defrog bricks, if you went all the way up to the top,
just using mortar, sticking them to the wall. When you get so far up, boom, the whole thing would fall down. You have to tie these into the old brickwork. Now, the simplest way to do it, I've got some 5-inch wires here, which will act as a tie. I'll put it into an old brick joint like this. Tap it in, and that'll tie the new brickwork into the old. Is this all the muck there is left, Alan?
No, there's one more in the barrow to come up.
OK. What are you doing? You blocking in those pieces?
Yeah, just where the old joists have been in the wall.
Oh, what, and supporting the staircase?
Yeah. I'm
right.
just chopping out the loose and putting in brick ends, just so that we can render up in one go.
Oh, look at them.
Yeah.
It's unusual. What are they made of? What's your eyes?
Yeah.
Chalk. It looks like chalk.
Yeah.
It's an interesting form of block, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Sort of rustic effect. Looks good.
Yeah. Tell you what would look nice, if they were all clean, all this came off, cleaned up and then raised pointed.
You carry on doing that. It's a raving lunatic we got here. Come on, Rob. Give it a good slap. Don't just tickle it.
Rob's loving it working with Tommy. I think he's really enjoyed it. I think he's learning a lot as well, because Tommy is, seems full of information and, ways to do things the right and the wrong way. And I think he's having a great time. I think he's exhausted. I think he's worked really hard. But I think he's enjoyed every minute of it.
Now, this was obviously a doorway.
Yep.
And when was this bolted up?
Well, it was covered over about 100 years ago. But when my house was renovated...
Well, these are not 100 years old. These are new thermalite blocks.
When my house was renovated, the builder just put those in up against the board here. And when we came in, we ripped the board off, and there it was.
And why was this blocked off in the first place?
Well, the two brothers that lived here, who'd inherited it off their dad, fell out completely, hated each other, split it in half, boarded it up, and didn't speak to each other until they died.
Interesting. Now, do you know where this comes out on the other side?
No. We know it's in the top of the stairs, and that's about it.
Now, Rob came up with quite a clever idea. To know exactly where we are the other side of this wall, using this long drill, if I drill a hole in each of the 4 corners and then drill right through, that should tell us where we are the other side. Then using a spirit level, we can square off the frame and then punch back this way without doing too much damage and mess the other side, because it's all finished, is it, in there?
That's right, yeah.
See. So, providing we've got the holes in the right place, it should be fairly straightforward just to mark it off and punch it through.
Well, it should be just here. Oh, yes.
Yes?
Fantastic.
Oh, we're in the right house then.
Yep.
That's it. That's good. Now, I feel it only right, It's like the launching of a new ship. But we're not going to crack a bottle of champagne on this. You can have the hammer and the bolster chisel.
Right.
And you can have the first strike. That seems like hard work. I don't mind a challenge. I think I better leave him wreck his side of the house. It's very important when you're replastering over old work, patching up and such, that you actually apply a coat of PVA adhesive and water before you apply the render or the plaster. Now, the reason for that is twofold. One, it seals in the dust and the old work, and also it acts as a catalyst to make the second coat adhere to the old work. And it's even better if you've got an amigo like Alan to apply it for you, because it's a bit sticky. That's all the brickwork finished, all the dubbing out. Now we've got to apply some render. Because this mortar, the depth is so deep, I'm just whacking a bit on crudely
what we call dubbing out, just to make sure we get some sort of parity between both sides. The tip is, though, once you've actually got it on the wall, don't mess about with it, because otherwise it'll come straight off again. I know you might think it's very artistic, but the reason for it is to actually create a key for when the next coat goes on. Right, now the clever bit. To get this perfectly flat, you need something to work from that edge and from that edge. So cut yourself a nice straight edge, something like a bit of 3x1.5, something like that. And I've got a nice tapered edge here, so it won't scratch through the surface. You just move it from side to side like that, like a sawing action. Don't try to take it all off in one go. And then we put it down there. We don't waste it. That's it. Right. Now, we've got to get this second staircase out right now. A bit pronto, lads. Come on. Right, get that in there. Ready? Hold on, boys. Hold on, boys. I'm standing on the staircase. That's not very secure, is it? Or very sound? That's it, and I'll be able to reach the back end, I hope. You ready?
Yeah.
Hold up. Oops. I think I've left my wallet upstairs. Boys, don't burn that staircase yet. Well, we're doing pretty good. We've bricked up and rendered the chimney breast, and we've replaced the old window with a new window. We've sanded all the floorboards, and we've even removed the second staircase. The next task we've got to do is punch a hole through the wall from the old house to the new house where that old door frame was, and then marry the two, the old and new, for the first time in 100 years. You know, that's just how old I feel at the moment. We're working in an old Victorian schoolhouse in a room directly above us here. And as you can see, it no longer has a staircase. So we've got to use a ladder. Come and join us. Now, Alan, I thought you might have finished this for me before I got here.
You know what it's like when the master's away, the cats will play.
Right. You haven't played hard enough, son. That's the trouble. Now, let's just recap what we've done so far. We've removed the chimney breast. We've replaced the ceiling. Mind you, I've got to put my hands up and say that the filling was not done by me, it was done by Rob, which is just as well he's got a career in IT. We've replaced the window. We've taken out one staircase to the upper floor, and we've taken out the second staircase. Alan's trimming this all up and putting in new joists so we can patch up the floor, which then leads us, of course, that we've got to have this wall punched through this opening, because otherwise there'll be no way to get in this room. And hopefully Rob will finish and punch through that very soon. Now, where's my hammer? I need to get started.
We've got to fill this with floor joists where the old staircase was. This is the old trimmer, lovely old piece of oak, but what we're doing here is putting in another trimmer because there's not a great lot carrying on the wall. It does dive through the back, so we're just beefing it up here, and then we put this in like so. And tap that back there, and then what we've got here, I've just set it out, and this is where all the joists are going to carry across to that side. So it's just a case of fixing it now.
This is the great dividing line between the two parts of this lovely old Victorian house. Now, this part is the part that Rob acquired first,
And as you can see, it's got two of the original sills under these more modern windows. Now that presents us with a little problem because over here, sometime in its glorious past, someone removed the original sill, and although we've replaced the window, we've now got to cast a sill to match the two originals. Now this is the shuttering formwork I've made for the sill. I just made it out of some scrap wood I found in the garden, some ply and some old pieces of timber which I machined up. And this in here, this is going to go against the wall and this is going to form what we need to hold the concrete. Now the most important part about all this is this bit of wire that this cable I've actually pinned in here. Forms what we call the drip, which is underneath, so that when the water hits the sill, runs round, it doesn't travel into the building. It hits the drip and then drips off. Now, it's very simply made, screwed together, but you have to be quite clever how you put the whole thing together. That goes onto there, making sure that we centre it. Let me centre it. That's it. I've got to line them two centre marks. One screw in this end, and then one screw in this end. Right, that's fairly strong, but just to stabilise it completely, I've cut 4 wedges, and we just tap in these wedges, and that just tilts it up a bit and makes the whole thing solid. When you want to strike the shuttering at the end, once it's set, you just pull these battens out, and take out these wedges. There we go. Undo 2 screws and the whole thing comes apart. Now that is as solid as a rock. What I have to do now, a little trick, to stop the cement and the concrete, which we're going to use to fill this, sticking to the timber, we should use a mould oil, but most people haven't got that. So what you can use is a cooking oil. Just wipe cooking oil all along this frame, okay, only on the timber part, and that will stop the concrete sticking to the wood. So when you actually strike the shuttering, it will come away. And another thing you do, you need 2 types of mixes. You need a sharp sand and cement mix to put around the edge, okay, right the way around the frame. The idea for that is it's not as coarse as concrete, so you'll have a finer finish. And then you knock up another mix, which is shingle and sharp sand, which makes the concrete, and you put that in here, smooth the whole lot, voila, you've got a sill made. This is the coarser mix. There's the gravel mixed in with the sharp sand and cement. That gives it the binding, and that gives it the strength so the sill will last a very long time. Now, when you're doing this, take an off-cut of timber, and just force the material into all the void areas, so all the cavities are filled, right the way along. And something else I'll show you to give a nice finish afterwards, because you've got to take the air pockets out of it. You don't want any air bubbles in, that causes a weakness. So we have to sort of vibrate, and you do that by just giving it lots of continuous tapping with a hammer or a block of wood like that. Now, if you come in close and have a look, I'll just give you an example. Just watch that area there as I see how it vibrates down. Right, that's all the coarse stuff in. Now, to cap it off, to give it a real nice finish, we go back to the smooth gear, the stuff we use first, packing around the edge.
fast approaching a momentous moment. This doorway has been sealed up for over 100 years. And Rob's the other side of this doorway with hammer in hand, about to knock this wall asunder, and both the old and the new will be rejoined. Are you ready, Rob?
I am.
Go!
Hello. Hello, mate.
What I'm doing here, this is where we've got the old plaster, and this is the new render backing that Tommy put on yesterday. What I'm doing is soaking the edge so that when I put the skim coat on, it doesn't soak all the moisture out of the plaster, give a crack line, and where you blend over, set immediately.
We've put a new lining all the way around this new window so it hides all the bad edges. All the bigger holes I'm patching up with some bricks and some mortar. And I'll just pack them in. And we'll probably use a mixture of mortar and bonding to fill the holes all the way around. And when it sets, the next stage then is put the architraves on, and that will cover absolutely everything. Well, our next stage of the job is to put back the old floorboards. Remember what they used to look like? We'll look at them now. They were all black and horrible. We've sanded them down now, and they've come up lovely. Now, we had the advantage of, because we were taking them up and relaying them, of actually sanding these with a belt sander outside in the garden. And the advantage of that is, number one, the dust is not all over the house. And number two, if you use a floor sander inside, unless you're pretty good at it, you get the occasional ripple and mark. But these are lovely and smooth. Now, one advantage we have here, which we couldn't see before we sand them, is this. Come and have a look at this. Look at that. This is woodwork. Now, don't worry about it. People will give their right arm for this. Now, providing the floorboard sound, don't worry, you can treat this with a clear treatment so it won't be seen, and that will kill off the woodworm. And then once you've sanded it and then lacquered it, it will look like it's been down for over 100 years. Now, we have actually inherited a slight problem here, because when we opened up that door, we went from one section of the house to the other. Some of the boards ran through underneath that wall, so we couldn't actually pick them up. They run under the carpet, right through to next door. So we have to pick up the way those boards are set out. So we have to follow their line. And that meant we had to do a lot of cutting and shutting here to get a square edge off the joist. You must come off the joist at right angles, and then all the boards follow on nicely. So we spent quite a bit of time getting this right, but from here on in it should be straightforward. Alan, will you just guide me and make sure that that one fits?
Well, we saw this house on the internet when we were looking for houses when we first moved down here, and we saw this place and we just fell in love with it. About 8 weeks ago now, we had a discussion with the neighbours, and I said, look, I'd really love to buy this house off you. What do you think? And eventually they sold it to us, and so here we are, and we've owned this for 6 weeks now. And this is the first piece of work to really start to bring it back together again, so I'm really excited. Well, working with Tommy's fantastic. I mean, not only is he's a great bloke, but he's also quite funny, and he works hard. The same for Alan as well. He's really both of them have really put their backs into it. And also, I've learned a lot because I like to muck in, but I don't know much about the techniques and the things that you can do. So I've picked up quite a few things from him that I'm going to use when we do the rest of the house as well. Of course, one of the big jobs is to knock this door through. This is the old original door that we found. It was covered by all this kind of stuff as we stripped off all the wall coverings that were here. So we're going to knock that through. That takes us into the hall on the other side. And this is going to be just a chill-out room.
the system on this floor. Alan's the driller, Rob's the nail putter-inner, and I'm the basher. Mr. Driller.
Yeah?
You've missed 2 out here.
Oh, no, that's where Rob was standing. Rob had got his boot just there. My excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
I'll be glad to get this floor finished, I tell you.
Last one.
The very last board.
I measured it.
Right, let's see if it fits.
Do I feel smug or what?
The last act of trimming the window, Tommy's bit of window dressing with the architraves. Do you know, I almost forgot about this windowsill, purely because it's outside. Now, the fact that I've cast it, I've got to take the shuttering off and make sure it's in good condition. Normally, when you're casting sill, I'd like to leave this for much longer than I've left it. But, of course, in this challenge, we just don't have the time. Now, I'm just hoping that the oil, the vegetable oil that we put on, will have done its job and stop the cement sticking to the timber. Take out those 2 screws. Now we'll take out the wedges. Right. Now the leg. Right, the leg. Now the moment of truth. Gently. That's to break the seal. Right, that's what was holding it. This is to form the drip, so that the water runs around here into this little crevice here created by that and then drops to the floor. There we go. Voila! Well, that don't look bad at all. There's a bit of making good to be done, but that's Robert's job. And I've also left him a little special wood grain effect on the end of that. Have a look.
Now I've got the studding to put up here. I'll just show you what I mean. Got a stud wall to come out here and then return across there with the door and the doorway here. Now, Tommy's just reckoned that I can't do that in 10 minutes. Go. Better not forget my specs. I've got a jam in my gun. That's one. Oh, blimmin' heck. Failed. Just don't tell him, right?
All right, how'd you get on with the thing? Did you finish it in time?
I think I just about did it in time, yeah.
Oh, well done, well done. Now, see this wall? It's got a big belly in it, the reverse way, curve. Now, to make this fit perfectly to that wall, we have to do what we call scribe. Now, what you have to do is this gap in the middle, the widest gap of all, get a piece of timber or an offcut that matches it, like that, see? And there. And then if you transfer this piece of wood up to the top, like this, and then ride it down, draw a mark, using the timber as your spacer, see? All the way down like that. See? And it gives you the perfect shape of the wall. Up, tight. That's it. Right. Have a look at that. That's it. Right. One last piece. Let's just get that. Just one more. Just one. There's one other thing. A door. Shall we tell Rob the latest good news?
Me or you?
What are you going to tell him then?
No, I just didn't want you to tell me to tell him.
This is getting confusing. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go and tell him that he's got to fit the door. What was you going to go and tell him?
Same thing.
Let's go and do it together. Come on, let's go. Rob! Well, it's finished. What do you think?
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. It's going to make a brilliant bathroom.
Well, it's big enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it is now. It wasn't before we took out the staircase. 2 staircases.
That's right.
Hey.
Window, reveals.
Yeah, the window and the reveals. And we done a chimney breast. Took that out.
Don't forget me knocking that doorway through. That was fantastic.
Oh, the meeting of East and West.
That's right.
Yeah, that was amazing. I'll never forget it. 100 years that hasn't been open.
That's right.
And then, of course, the sanded floors.
Sanded floors.
Yeah, that was difficult.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You like it, though? It was worth it.
Beautiful.
It was worth it.
Casting the sill.
Yeah, that was one for me, wasn't it? Casting the sill out on the roof. And we had to do all these skirtings.
Yeah, and the ceiling.
Oh, who can forget the ceiling?
Who can forget your feet falling through?
Well, they got it down quick, didn't it?
That's right.
So you're pleased with it?
I'm absolutely ecstatic.
Well, come here. I think we have to have a huddle, because I think we should become permanently known now as the Three Amigos, because we've built up such a relationship this week. It has been a challenge, a real big challenge. So until the next time, goodbye. Come on, guys, let's go.
The one thing we really wanted was a family bathroom, and now we've got one. The kids love it. There's so much space in here as well, and I've got my shower that I always wanted. The thing about working with Tommy, like professionals, and Alan as well, is that you learn how things should be done and also how things shouldn't be done. So I picked up quite a few hints and tips, and also some things that you know, you just wouldn't know if you were a do-it-yourselfer. Oh, it's just one of the best things I've ever done. I really, really enjoyed it.